ब्रजजन रंजन यमुना तीरा वनचारी, यमुना तीरा वनचारी, जय राधा माधवा जय कुंज बिहारी, हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे हरे रामा राम राम हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, जय प्रभुपदा जय प्रभुपदा, प्रभुपदा श्रील प्रभुपदा, जय जय गुरुदेव, गुरुदेव जय गुरुदेव, निताय गौरा हरि बोल, हरि बोल, हरि बोल, निताय गौरा हरि बोल। ओम अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपं कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वापदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरु श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरुं वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगणा रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजना सहितं श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य देवं श्री राधा कृष्ण पादान् सहगना ललिता श्री विशाखान्वितांश्च। हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगतपते गोपेशा गोपिका कांता राधा कांता नमोस्तुते, तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वंशाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा, हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। शृण्वतां स्वकथा कृष्ण पुण्यश्रवण कीर्तना हृदीयन्तस्तभद्राणि विधुनोति सुरत्सतां, नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमां देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तम श्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी। Hare Krishna. So we are reading from Srila Prabhupada Lilamrita, chapter 25. Our master has not finished his work. The small one-story cottage was situated in a quiet suburb, a short walk from the beach. The backyard was enclosed by trees and shrubs, and the neighborhood bloomed with fragrant roses. But the weather was often blustery and the sky gray. Prabhupada spoke of returning to India to recuperate. In Delhi, Sri Krishna Pandit had refused Prabhupada's urgent request for Ayurvedic medicine. You are in such a long place. If the medicine gives some bad reaction, then how to arrange for the good? Prabhupada had written back asking if an Ayurvedic physician could be sent to America, but the proposal seemed impractical. It would be better for Prabhupada to go to India. He received Swami Narayan Maharaj's reply that since no Ayurvedic doctor would go to America, Swamiji should come and be treated in Calcutta. Narayan Maharaj also enclosed a letter to Prabhupada's secretary, Rai Rama. There is no need for anxiety. Always utter Harinam. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Near his ears, God will do for the best. Srila Prabhupada talked of going to India not only for his health. He told Kirtananda and Gaurasundara he wanted to start in Vrindavan an American house, a place where his American disciples could learn Vedic culture to help them preach all over the world. He also said he wanted to make some of his disciples, Kirtananda, Brahmananda, Hayagriva, into sannyasis, and he would do that also in India. His real work, however, was in America. If he could just regain his health. But where was the sunshine? Govinda Dasi had cherished the desire to serve Swamiji personally ever since she had first met him in San Francisco. She saw that he was selfless and his love for his disciples was unlike anything she had ever known. She didn't mention her cherished desire to anyone, even to Gaurasundar. But now Krishna was fulfilling her desire by allowing her and Gaurasundara to come to New Jersey to serve Swamiji. To the devotees in New York, having a married couple take care of Swamiji seemed the best arrangement, and Govindasi and Gaura Sundara had been available. These were external reasons, but Govinda Dasi understood that Krishna was fulfilling her desire. Serving Swamiji, Govinda Dasi felt completely satisfied now that she was actually dedicating herself to Swamiji as she had always wanted. Nothing else was on her mind. Despite the problems of working with Kitananda, who seemed to think she was less intelligent because she was a woman, and who sometimes corrected her, she was happy. Govinda Dasi said, Swamiji would sit on a little couch with a table before him, and Gaurasundara and Kirtananda and I would sit on the floor, and we would all eat together like a family. We would talk, and one time the subject was rice. Kirtananda said, white rice is for human beings and brown rice is for animals. So I said, I must be an animal then, because I really like brown rice better. And Swamiji just laughed and laughed and laughed. He thought it was so funny. I guess it did sound pretty simple, but he laughed and laughed. Prabhupada was sitting in the backyard when Govindasi saw a large slug climbing on a wall. She showed it to Prabhupada. Chant to the poor thing, he said, and she began to chant Hare Krishna. Govindasi would take walks daily and, with the neighbor's permission, pick dozens of roses. On returning, she would arrange them in vases and place them all around in Prabhupada's room. One time, when Prabhupada heard her loudly singing Hare Krishna as she returned from the neighborhood, he remarked to Gaurasundar, she is very simple-hearted. Govindasi said, Swamiji talked about Krishna in such a way that Krishna was present in the room. This was so striking to me. He would talk about Krishna's activities, about how Krishna is doing this and that, and how Krishna is so wonderful, and Mother Yashoda is thinking like this. He would talk and he would get into such a beautiful state that the whole room would glow golden. I would feel as if I were being transported to some other realm, and it was all very new to me. I didn't have any great understanding of what was going on, but it was all very new to me, and it was an actual transcendental experience of feeling Krishna's presence and almost glimpsing within the heart the memory of his pastimes. Swamiji playing kartal, Swamiji walking on the beach, Swamiji sitting in his room or taking a nap. Everything he did seemed wonderful to Govindasi, and everything he did or said seemed to endear him more and more to her. Devotees would travel no more than two at a time and only once a week from Manhattan to Long Branch to visit Swamiji. Mostly they would see him sitting on his bed, but sometimes they would walk with him on the beach. The morning sunshine, he said, would help him, but the gray skies persisted. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, 31st chapter, 19th verse. Dayaya sarvabhuteshu santushtya yena kena va sarvendriyopasantaya cha tushtya sujanardana. Dayaya sarvabhuteshu santushtaya yena kena va sarvendriyopashantaya cha तुष्टया सुजनार्दना. दयाया सर्वभूतेषु सन्तुष्ट्या येन केन वां सर्वेन्द्रियोपशान्ताया च तुष्ट्या सुजनार्दना. Would anyone like to please recite?
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, I am trying. Dayaya sarva bhuteshu santushtaya yena kena va सर्वेन्द्रियोपोषन्ता च तुष्यति आशु जनार्दनः। हरे कृष्ण।
हरे कृष्ण माताजी। दयया सर्वभूतेषु सन्तुष्ट्या येन केन वा सर्वेन्द्रियोपशान्त्या च तुष्यन्त्याशु जनार्दन। हरे कृष्ण।
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam. May I please?
Yes, please, Mataji.
दयाया सर्वभूतेषु सन्तुष्टया येन केन वा सर्वेन्द्रियोपशान्तया च तुष्यत्यासो जनार्दन. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Krishna. We'll look at
हरे कृष्ण माता जी।
and then
दयाय सर्वभूतेषु सन्तुष्टाय येन केन वा इंद्रियोपशान्ताय च तुष्याति असु जनार्दनः।
thank you, Prabhuji. We'll go to synonyms and translation. Dayaya, by showing mercy, Sarva Bhuteshu, to all living entities, Santushtya, by being satisfied, Yena Kenava, somehow or other, Sarva Indriya, all the senses, Upashantaya, by controlling, Cha, also, Tushyati, becomes satisfied, Asu, very soon, Janardanaha, the Lord of all living entities. Translation by Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. By showing mercy to all living entities, being satisfied somehow or other, and restricting the senses from sense enjoyment, one can very quickly satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Janardana. Purport by Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. These are some of the ways in which the Supreme Personality of Godhead can be satisfied by the devotee. The first item mentioned is Dayaya Sarvabhuteshu, showing mercy to all conditioned souls. The best way to show mercy is to spread Krishna consciousness. The entire world is suffering for want of this knowledge. People should know that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the original cause of everything. Knowing this, everything should directly engage in his devotional service. Those who are actually learned, advanced in spiritual understanding should preach Krishna consciousness all over the world so that people may take to it and make their life successful. The word Sarvabhuteshu is significant because it applies not only to human beings but to all the living entities appearing in the 8.4 million species of life. The devotee can do good not only to humanity but to all living entities as well. Everyone can benefit spiritually by the chanting of Hare Krishna Mahamantra. When the transcendental vibration of Hare Krishna is sounded, even the trees, animals, and insects benefit. Thus, when one chants the Hare Krishna Mahamantra loudly, he actually shows mercy to all living entities. To spread the Krishna consciousness movement throughout the world, the devotee should be satisfied in all conditions. Narayana para sarve na kutaschana bhibyati sarvaga pavarga narkeshva pitulyartha darshinaha. Bhagavad 6:17-28. It does not matter to the pure devotee if he has to go to hell to preach. The Supreme Lord lives in the heart of a hog, although the Lord is in Vaikuntha. Even while preaching, in hell, a pure devotee remains a pure devotee by his constant association with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. To attain this state, one has to control his senses. The senses are automatically controlled when one's mind is engaged in the service of the Lord. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji's Mataji's, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. All glories to Srila Gurudev. Welcome to Srimad Bhagavatam morning discussion. So this chapter is named as Narad instructs Prachetas. The Prachetas have left the kingdom and come to become perfect in Krishna consciousness, where Narad Muni appears and Prachetas ask him to instruct them about transcendental knowledge. Hence, Narad Muni is giving them some instructions on Krishna consciousness, on transcendental knowledge. In his instruction, so his instruction starts from verse 9, and from 9 to 14, Narad Muni is speaking about how devotional service is the goal to all the spiritual practices. Any spiritual practice you talk about, devotional service is the goal. And then 14th, he concludes this topic by the 14th shloka, which is very famous, right? The analogy of watering the root of a plant, and everyone becomes, and the whole plant is satisfied Similarly, if we just worship Krishna, everyone is pleased. And every other knowledge and spiritual practice, it becomes perfect if one practices Krishna consciousness. Also, I think in 11th canto, Srila Prabhupada's disciples have maintained, have written in 18th chapter, one of the purport, and that's also a very famous verse from Pancharatra. राधितो यदि हरि तपसा तथा किम ना राधितो यदि हरि तपसा तथा किम अंतर्बाहिर यदि हरि तपसा तथा किम ना अंतर्बाहिर यदि हरि tapasa tata kim. What is, if you are worshipping Lord Hari, what is the use of doing anything else? If you're not worshipping Lord Hari, what is the use of doing any other austerity? If you have realized Lord Hari within and outside, there is no need to do any other austerity. But if you have not realized Lord Hari within and without, what is the use of anything what we are doing, right? So 14th verse concludes with this, that Krishna consciousness is the only practice which we have to follow. And then from 15 to 18, Lord Narad Muni is explaining how Lord Krishna is worthy of all the worship which has to be received, because he talks in these verses, he talks how everything lies in him, especially in yesterday's verse 18, how he instructs that Lord exists as both remote and immediate cause, and he's aloof from all material emanations, and he's free from any interactions with material energy, and hence we should always worship the Lord, and we should get engaged in the devotional service. So that was the pre-capital, what we have in this chapter. Now, this verse, as we read, is talking about how to satisfy the Lord. How can we satisfy the Lord, right? From 19th to 22nd, that's another group of instructions which Narad Muni is giving to Prachetas, is like how powerful Lord can be satisfied. Only by devotional service he can be satisfied. So that's what, and I have this acronym which is MSC, right? The first is, as we read in the verse, merciful to all living entities. The second quality is satisfaction, and the third quality is control of senses. So if we have this MSC, merciful, if we are practicing this, we are being very, we are satisfying the Lord, we are pleasing the Lord. So if we are being merciful, we are being satisfied, and we are controlling our senses, right? So now let's dive into these three more, as our beloved Srila Prabhupada mentions in the purport. So the first one we talked about is mercy, right? So mercy for all, to all living entities. Srila Prabhupada writes in the purport, also Narad Muni instructs Sarva Bhuteshu. He's not saying only human beings, everyone, right? The verse says that we should be merciful to all. Right now, when we hear about being merciful to all the entities, other than Lord, of course, how Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was merciful to all the living entities by going into Jharkhand and, doing the Harinam, and every animal and everyone was dancing. And that is one example of merciful. But then now, if we're not talking about God, and if you're talking about personalities, then one example what we could think about merciful, or how that particular living entity had been so merciful, is our dear beloved Srila Prabhupada, right? Without him, uncountable human beings would never have been able to know Krishna consciousness, especially people in West, right? And you might say, oh, what mercy did he show? I'm sure devotees won't say this, but if someone asks, right? The first mercy, prasad. Prabhu ke sakshat darshan, right? Prasada. That's what he showed us. That's what he introduced prasadam to the Westerners who never knew about what prasadam is. He introduced Harinam. When I'm saying introduced, I'm talking about Western world. Of course, everywhere else there it was very prominent, but especially in the Vaishnava Sampradayas. But Srila Prabhupada got the real essence of Harinam to the West. Deity worship, He showed us how to do proper deity worship based on our scriptures, devotee association, right? He showed us how to progress together as a community. And there is the most important part, and I'm sure every one of you would be thinking, why I have not mentioned it yet. It's his teachings, his purpose, right? Now, you see, when a small baby, when a small baby develops some teeth, right, what happens? The mother doesn't start giving whole vegetable, fruits, and lentils, right? The gums are a bit strong, and there are only few teeth there, or sometimes they are not no teeth, but the gums are a bit strong, right? She knows that the baby is young and the digestion is a bit weak, though she can see some teeth coming, right? So she introduces the same veggie, the same fruits, lentils, etc., in different methods, like boiling them, blending them in smooth paste, right? So that the baby get full benefit of the taste, right? And it's easy to digest because it's in a juice form, right? Boiled and blended. And at the same time, the baby also gets the nutrition of the food he's eating. Similarly, Srila Prabhupada blended in all the verses of scriptures, the complete scriptures, and fed us as his nectarian purpose, as his nectarian teachings, right? Like this perfect example of this is this verse where, Narada Muni is instructing about 3 qualities which will satisfy the Lord. That's okay. That's information. But how do I realize that information? How do I understand how should I become merciful? How should I become satisfied? How should I become sense control? Right? How do you do that in detail is not explained here by Narad Muni. It is explained by our beloved Srila Prabhupada. Right? He has written, what does he writes in the purport? He makes it so easy to digest. What is real mercy? What is real mercy? To distribute Krishna consciousness, to spread Krishna consciousness. World is suffering, Srila Prabhupada writes, without Krishna consciousness, right? That's mercy, satisfied and self-control. All these things by preaching we can get. And very easily, the whole verse Srila Prabhupada had made very easy to digest, and he has made it full of nutrition so that we can understand and get the benefit of this verse through his beautiful purport, right? So mercy is what Srila Prabhupada has showed us. Distribute prasadam, distribute Harinam, deity worship, devotee association. This is the mercy which he had showed all of us, and we should follow his footsteps by showing the same mercy to everyone, all the living entities. And in all the living entities, we as well come in, right? Me, myself too. So we should show the mercy to ourselves as well, right? That reminds me of His Holiness Mahavishnu Goswami Maharaj, one verse which we can, would someone like to read this?
Hare Krishna Mataji, I am reading.
Sure.
One thing we should remember that we should be merciful to everybody except ourselves. Otherwise, you think that I am merciful to me. I'll sleep up till 10 o'clock laughter. No, to ourselves, we should be very austere. We should get up at 3:30 in the morning. Don't be merciful to you. Self, I think. Yourself. Lecture Srimad Bhagavatam 4/31/19, December 2008 at Rajkot. Hare Krishna.
Okay. Thank you. So this is when we show mercy to others, at the same time when we are supposed to be merciful to us, but in the right quantity. As Maharaj mentions, we can't be merciful to ourselves by taking that liberty of the definition of merciful and, oh, that's okay, someone comes to you and say, Mataji, I'm unable to get up for Mangalarti. Oh, I understand. Just try to, slowly and steadily work to that process. We give this example. We might give this answer to the person in your group who might approach you and ask. But when it's up to you, the mercy shouldn't be, oh, no, slowly and steadily I will develop. No, that should not be the case. We should be, our Guru Maharaj always says, His Holiness Radha Govind Goswami Maharaj, he always mentions that we should be strict lenient to others and strict with ourselves. That's how devotional service, and that's how your devotional service will progress. If you'll be strict to yourself, because mind, again, it's a all different topic, but because of our mind games, what our mind can play with us, it's better to be strict with ourselves, but very, very, very merciful to all living entities. And examples of how to show mercy, Srila Prabhupada had shown us, and we should always remember to follow those footsteps of Srila Prabhupada, right? Now, let's look at the other quality, which is satisfaction, right? Now, the second and third quality, which is satisfaction and sense control, they are both interlinked in many ways. And if you practice satisfaction, your senses would be controlled. Or if you practice sense control, somehow the practice of satisfaction will also develop, right? But let's look at these separately here. So there is this verse. Oh, why am I able to? Okay, yeah. There's this verse in Srimad Bhagavatam. Sada santushta manasa sarva shivmaya disha sarkara kantaka dibhyo yathopanat padho shivam. Translation: for a person who has suitable shoes on his feet, there is no danger even when he walks on pebbles and thorns. For him, everything is auspicious. Similarly, for one who is always self-satisfied, there is no distress. Indeed, he feels happiness everywhere. Right? Similarly, for one who is always self-satisfied, there is no distress. Indeed, he feels happiness everywhere. This beautiful verse is spoken by none other than the same person who is speaking verse 19, 31st chapter, 4th canto, our Supreme Acharya in disciplic succession, Shri Narad Muni. One of the very important feature of Srimad Bhagavatam is its elegance and lucidity. No other scripture in the world can give such a clear and simple understanding of such a difficult or complicated, we can say, subject matter, which is satisfaction, right? So satisfaction, here Narad Muni is saying, for one who is always self-satisfied. So it is in your hand. Satisfaction depends on our level of acceptance of any given situation or result, right? In Bhagavad Gita, 17th chapter, Lord counts satisfaction as the first item. He lists that as the first item in austerities of mind. Now, what do we really get by being satisfied? It makes us free of anxieties. In a relaxed mood, we'll be able to understand and relish our scripture, Srimad Bhagavatam, devotee association, much better. How? Because we won't be wasting all our time unnecessarily, right? In trying to be satisfied with our material comforts, we will save a lot of time. The verse which we are discussing today clearly says, right, somehow or other, we have to be satisfied in whatever situation we may in. Santushtya yena kena va. That's the verse with it talks about that. Right? We have to note also that this satisfaction is advantageous only when applied to our material necessities, okay? The same thing is very detrimental if we apply the satisfaction concept in our spiritual activities, okay? So what happens when we get satisfied? Of course, we save a lot of time in not working through this material needs and all this atyahara, prayasas, all those are minimized, right? Which saves us a lot of time to relish Srimad Bhagavatam devotee association, okay? But at the same time, when we talk about satisfaction, we are just, as I said, the time should be minimized from material activities and increased in spiritual activities. That's how it needs to work. There's this verse from Niti Shastra. What does that say? Santosha trishu kartavya swadhare bhojane dhane. Santosha trishu na kartavya swadhyaya japadanaya. Right? One should be always satisfied with these three things. What are the three things? These are material: spouse, food, and the amount of wealth they obtained. All these material activities. Niti Shastra says that we should always, always, always be satisfied with these three things. And one should never be satisfied with these three things. What are those three things? The amount of scriptural study, the amount of chanting, and the amount of charity you perform, right? Now, when I look at myself, I can see that I'm actually expert in applying the material principle here to spiritual life and spiritual principle and material life. I'm always not satisfied with material things. And okay, 16 rounds done, finish. Okay, what a relief. Satisfied. I'm done for the day. That is not what Niti Shastra is telling us. Well, that's not what, Srila Prabhupada many times quoted, right? Srila Rupa Goswami, and the words were greediness, about greediness. Tatra lolyam ekam moolam, right? Tatra lolyam ekam moolam. Greediness is the only requirement or mool, what do we say, prize for devotional service. We should have that intense greed for devotional service. We should never be satisfied with our reading of scriptures, our chanting, and the charity what we give. Right? This is the real measuring rod of our consciousness. Are we greedy enough for spiritual things? And are we satisfied with material things? This is the real measuring rod of our consciousness, right? Let's come to the last point now, how to satisfy the Lord. Control of senses. This is the C, right? Sorry, everyone can see my screen, right? I am having
Yes, Mataji.
okay, cool. Right. What does Srila Prabhupada says? He always said a Krishna conscious person means one must control the senses properly. Right? Now, there are two types of lifestyle in this world, Shreya and Preya. Now, Shreya, Preya is like I am at least following Preya. Whatever is suitable for my sense gratification, I'll follow and I'll do it. Whatever doesn't fit into my sense gratification thing, I'll reject it. Right? That is Preya. But that's not the right lifestyle. The right lifestyle is Shreya. Shreya means that which does us good for our spiritual benefit, for our soul, the real food for soul. That is Shreya. Right? In Srimad Bhagavatam, we would hear also when devotees are asking questions from either Sutta Goswami or Shukdev Goswami or any other acharyas. What are they saying? Shreyo, tell me what is good for me. That is, they're asking about good for their soul, right? By which we can achieve the ultimate abode, the goal of our existence. What is that? Please, human existence. Please tell me that. That is Shreya. Okay. And this verse 19 is all about how to satisfy the Lord. And Lord himself says, right, the satisfaction, the controlling of senses. He says in Bhagavad Gita, the verse is Bhogeshwarya prasaktanam taya prata chetasam Vyavasyatmika buddhir samadhavna vidhiyate. In the minds of those who are too attached to sense enjoyment and material opulence and who are bewildered by such things, the resolute determination for devotional service to the Supreme Lord does not take place. Very clearly, he says. See, our aim, as if we are sincerely wanting to progress in devotional life, if we are sincerely wanting to progress in devotional life, our aim should be to control the senses based on this verse itself. Because if we don't control it, it is just not possible, right? Day by day, we are gliding more and more into the material whirlpool. If we will not take devotional service seriously, Bhagwan himself says, Vyavasatmika buddhi is not possible for such a person, right? It becomes, Srila Prabhupada used to give this analogy of a muddy lake, or what do we call it? Quicksand, right? Somehow or other, if we fall into a quicksand, right, then we struggle to get up. The more we struggle, the more we go down. That is material world. This is how we are behaving. And what happens that as soon as we are engrossed in this material world, the result is Bhogeshwarya, Prasaktanam. By those Bhagavan says in this, right? By those sense gratificatory activities, abharata, right? Our intelligence is stolen. Your intelligence is completely stolen by the sense gratificatory action, Bhagavan is saying. And what's the result? See, Krishna in one line gives the dangerous situation and also gives the effect of it also. What happens? The dangerous situation is we get into this Bhogeshwarya. And what's the effect? right? What's the effect? He says, Vyavasatmika buddhe, resolute determination to go to Krishna completely vanishes. Samadhauna vidyate. It is very difficult. I'm getting reminded of His Holiness Bhakti Vanmali Maharaj, Bhakti Karunamai Vanmali Maharaj. When he came, he used to always say, "Mujhe kahin latakna nahi hai, atakna nahi hai, bhatakna nahi hai." He was so pure in his consciousness. He would continuously, when we used to ask Maharaj, "Kahin ghumne jana nahi, mujhe kahin latakna nahi, atakna nahi, bhatakna nahi," he would say, he would keep on saying this. Just take me to that. That should be our aim. We should just be focused on Krishna consciousness. I remember also His Grace Gokuleshwar Prabhuji, when he was planning a visit to Hamilton, we called him and we asked him, Prabhuji, and would you like to visit Rotorua? And he said, what is Rotorua? And we told him that there's, nice uh, scenery and all those hot pools and all those. So one day we'll keep you for that. And he said, no, I just want to visit Golok Vrindavan. Please do not make my visits to all these places. If there is Krishna Katha, I'll visit. If there's no Krishna Katha, I don't want to visit. That's that staunch, following of devotional principles as instructed by Srila Prabhupada. Because if even little bit, if we fall into this, aisa nahi in the quicksand mein, or we can't say, oh, I'm just little bit in it. Quicksand is quicksand. Even if you are a little bit in it, it will drag you completely. So always be under the shelter of Srila Prabhupada, and that will give us shelter of Prabhupada in terms of Srila Prabhupada's purpose, in terms of his disciples, in terms of devotee association. What happens is we get that strength. Krishna provides us the strength. When he sees our sincere efforts, he provides us the strength to come out of this whirlpool of material sense gratification, right? Srila Prabhupada, would anyone please read this? Srila Prabhupada said that in Nectar of Instructions preface. Can I please request someone to read this?
Krishna Mataji, I'm reading in that case.
Sure, thank you.
Advancement in Krishna consciousness depends on the attitude of the follower. A follower of the Krishna conscious movement should become a perfect Goswami. One who wants to become a perfect devotee of Krishna must become a Goswami. Go means the senses and Swami means the master. Unless one controls his senses and mind, one cannot become a Goswami. Hare Krishna.
Jai. So Srila Prabhupada nicely mentions here that it's very, very, very important to control our senses. And he also gives a kind of answer to how to control our senses, which is advancement in Krishna consciousness. Very famous statement from Srila Prabhupada, depends upon the attitude of the follower. Right? All this knowledge, what we are talking about, is by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada. Right? We should not disappoint Prabhupada. We should not let this knowledge go. If we have got this knowledge, we should tightly, embrace it and not let it go. His Holiness Mahavishnu Goswami Maharaj once mentioned, I was listening to actually his lecture on 4/31/19, and he mentioned that we have to unfold Srila Prabhupada to the world. I love that, how nicely he mentioned that, there are so many people who out there who are not even aware about this knowledge, right? We have to unfold Srila Prabhupada to the whole world. Today's verse, we were talking about how to please the Lord, how to satisfy the Lord, how to develop MSC in our life, right? Following the footsteps of Prabhupada, distributing Krishna consciousness to the whole world and practicing it at the same time will make this verse very easy to implement in our lives, right? How to follow the footsteps of Srila Prabhupada, distribute prasadam. And this is something which yesterday Ratnalekha Mataji also beautifully described it. When I heard her lecture, I was like, oh, she has given lecture on 18 and 19 both. I don't even have to speak anything. But this is this is the importance of, this is the crux of all the knowledge, that we have to follow the footsteps of Srila Prabhupada, distribute prasadam, right? Distribute Harinam. Srila Prabhupada writes clearly in the purport how much mercy it holds, distributing Harinam. It can, not only human beings, but also animals, anyone it can liberate. Any living entity can be liberated. Deity worship is one very strong example of how to control our senses, right? There's this example of if you decorate Krishna, we feel it. It's an analogy of mirror, right? Decorating the mirror. Instead of decorating the mirror, which is our body, rather than that, we decorate the Lord. And everything becomes beautiful. Devotee association, community, very important. Gel with the community, share. The whole community, Srila Prabhupada has asked us to, should be based on Nectar of Instruction, 4th verse, right? Dadati pratigranati guhyamakyate prachati. All these, bhungte bhojayate, how can we forget that? So these 6 principles should be followed within the devotee community. When we follow these 6 principles, what happens? The community becomes satisfied. And Srila Prabhupada mentions that to distribute the mercy to every living entities, the person should be satisfied and in control of his senses, right? In the purport, he mentioned that. And that is only possible when we are, as a community, as devotee association, we are very strong. And of course, the most important thing, distribute Prabhupada's books, teach them, preach them, right? So there's this 2 things. How to develop these in our lives is how to develop these 3 qualities in our life, if we distribute Krishna consciousness, if we practice Krishna consciousness. That's all. And that is the biggest welfare we can do to the mankind. Yesterday, while concluding also, Ratnalekha Mataji mentioned the story of the boy who is lost, right? The biggest welfare what we can do is make that boy meet his father. And that's what we are trying to do by distributing Krishna consciousness. That's what we should do. And by doing so, well, while we are distributing, when we practice, there is the mercy to others, and we do mercy to ourselves as well by practicing Krishna consciousness. Okay. Hare Krishna. Thank you so much for patiently listening. I just had 5 more minutes if anyone wants to add any realizations, comments to this. This is a topic which is very, very, very practiced, implemented well in Krishna consciousness. At least we all try to practice, right? To be satisfied, to control our senses, and to preach, to be merciful to others. That's something which we all are trying to practice. So it's not a new thing for every one of us, but the best is the most important and important thing in this is if we know that just consistently, if we keep on practicing, right, any material or spiritual activity, one thing is very important, which is consistent, right? If you are a cricketer, if you are a sportsman, if you are a person who is good at your work, if you will look at what aces them from others is consistently practice. That aces others from you. Basically, what I'm trying to say here is if we make sure that we consistently practice what Srila Prabhupada has taught us and we consistently follow his footsteps, we will see great results. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam. Thank you very
Dandavat
much.
Pranam.
Very, very nice class. And particularly the importance of becoming satisfied. And what we understand from Srila Prabhupada's teaching is that, and also from Bhagavad Gita, we learn that one can be satisfied who can control his senses. And control of the senses comes when we are connected to the Lord. Without being connected to the Lord, one cannot satisfy his senses. That is the most important thing. In Bhagavad Gita 266, it is very nicely told that where it is told that Nasti buddhi ayuktasya na ayuktasya bhavana na chaubhavayata shanti asantasya kuto shukam. So happiness is a distant thing. Even peace of mind is not there. So how can there be happiness? And when there is no happiness, how can there be satisfaction? And also in the next verse it is very clearly told that one who has not one who has not satisfied his senses, what happens to him? It says that, in 267, it is very nicely told that if one of the senses even remains uncontrolled, that is like a ship in a water.
Correct. Yes.
Indriyanam hi jaratang janmanonu vidhyate tadasya harati pragya vayurna bhumibam bhushi. Just as if one of the senses is enough to destroy the mind, the control of the mind. So we should, first of all, connect it to the Lord, and everything takes place automatically. We should not have to separately control our senses. When we are connected to the Lord, it automatically elevates us. Even the modes are elevated from Tomogun, we are elevated to Rajagun, and whoever in Rajagun, they were elevated to Shatagun, and then to pure goodness. And when we are connected to the Lord, everything gets settled. So that is the crux of the whole problem. Unless we are connected to the Lord and follow the instruction of a spiritual master, we cannot have happiness and we cannot have satisfaction. So that is the thing Prabhupada has tried to give us through his ISKCON, and we are part of it. So we should follow his instruction. That's the way we can individually have satisfaction and can bring satisfaction to the society and the whole world at large. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji. Okay.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Dhanavad Pranam.
Dhanavad Pranam. Dhanavad.
Thank you so much for unpacking this verse. So many elaboration on this verse. So nice to hear. I think you really summed up towards the end by showing mercy to all the living entities, Sarvabhutesu. We automatically get the mercy. We don't have to seek mercy separately. This is the crux of Prabhupada's mission. Just by spreading this mission, Lord Chaitanya become merciful, Srila Prabhupada become merciful, our spiritual master become merciful, and we automatically receive their blessing and we can progress. So I think this verse is so important. Sarva Bhutesu. So thank you, Mataji, for elaborating this point. Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Anybody else? We've got a few minutes to finish. Anybody else like to make some comments or queries? Otherwise, we'll finish here. Doesn't seem to be sure. Mataji will finish here. Thank you. Vancha kalpatarubhayasya
Sindhubhyo च
पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो
अनंत
वैष्णवी जय और जय सीता माता की जय श्री प्रभुपाद की जय और प्रेमानंदी हरि बोल ऑल ग्लोरीज टू assembled devotees.
Hare
Krishna.